this month.
Huge seas, big storms.
So close, but no trophy.
Well, we're going to go back to try to win the Jules Verne.
Is this man simply greedy?
I really like to get one more medal.
And how a small boat inspired big ambitions.
I've done 8 transatlantic.
And it's awards time. But first, how to catch a runaway racing machine. Evacuating a solo sailor with a broken pelvis and 5 broken ribs from his yacht in the Atlantic was a delicate operation. But recovering his boat was even harder and involved a 1,100-mile chase lasting 2.5 weeks through midwinter gales. Paul Mayer had been racing his IMOCA 60 SMA from the Caribbean to France. He'd been hit by a broken furling unit as it swept across the deck. When the accident happened, he was just 50 miles north of the Azores and close to the Portuguese rescue services. With Mayer safely recovered, the team's mission now was to recover the boat. And that's where the chase started. SMA's project director, Marcus Hutchinson, who is in charge of the recovery, explains.
Paul's now off the boat. We know that there's nothing wrong with the boat, or very little wrong with the boat, and really our job then from the team's point of view was to recover the boat as quickly as possible. And our objectives were just to get a crew on board and pull the sails out and sail on back to France. The problem was how to get to the boat, and then once beside the boat, how to get on board. The boat was probably up here at this stage, about 100 miles north of São Miguel. Punta Delgada is on the south side of the island, so we chartered our tugboat from here, went round the island and then up north to go and get it. It took us a lot longer than we originally thought, and by the time we got there it was just before sunset. We could see the situation the boat was in, we could see why it was moving so quickly, but we could also see that it wasn't going to be safe for us to get on board, so we regrettably had to turn around once we saw the boat and go back to the Azores and leave the boat to its own devices.
The team's next plan was to approach the task from a different location, Spain.
Some of our colleagues had chartered another tug for us that was going to pick us up from La Coruña and head out. Meanwhile, we obviously had position of the boat the whole time. We could see which way it was drifting. It was heading, on average, basically straight north. But straight north from the Azores is the closest point of approach to La Coruña is 700 miles. 700 miles is an awfully long way for a motorboat, a powerboat, a tugboat to head out. And remember, it's winter, December, it's dark, this was almost the equinox, huge seas and big storms coming through, and the skipper decided that he wasn't going to go, and so we failed from there as well. At about the same time that we gave up on the La Coruña attempt, a third attempt was being mounted with a 50-foot cruising, aluminium cruising yacht with a very competent solo sailor on board, plus some of his buddies. And they headed out from La Coeste in France, again, to try and rendezvous with the boat, but again from 700 miles range. And he got to within 200 miles of the boat, and with the weather forecast coming, he realized it was crazy to continue, so he turned around as well and returned to Brittany. After 3 failed attempts, we realized that the best strategy was to come at it from in front. And the next place to mount salvage attempts from was Ireland, which was upstream of it, and so both the cruising yacht and another salvage attempt from a tug was mobilized in Ireland, southwest Ireland, and we left to make the final rendezvous.
Anticipating the track of the abandoned boat meant creating a new performance profile. Then, by studying detailed weather forecasts, the team planned their interception.
So the 4th and final attempt from Ireland was the successful one. 2 boats appeared beside SMA within a few hours of each other. The cruising yacht got there first, and on Monday the 4th of January, Adrian Hardy managed to get across, again in crazy conditions, about 40 knots of wind and at least 7 meters swell. Unbelievable seamanship demonstrated by him and his team. He got on board the boat just an hour before sunset. The boat wasn't in a particularly good state at this stage. It had been at sea on its own for 2.5 weeks. It had covered 1,100 miles at this stage. Adrian had to spend the night on board with the boat half flooded, the bow in the air and the stern underwater, before he couldn't get another person across with pumps that night, so he waited on board overnight, and the next day a big attempt, the 5th of January, to get another person across with pumps, and they spent the afternoon pumping the boat dry, getting it back on its lines, making the rig secure, and eventually putting storm jib up and sailing the last 150 miles at this stage to southwest Ireland.
With both the skipper and the boat recovered, the extraordinary task had been completed. But a new challenge has now started, to get both skipper and boat back afloat for the next race.
We've got the boat back in France now, and structurally it's nothing like as bad as we thought. We've been incredibly fortunate with the boat has held up very well. Nevertheless, there's a huge amount of work to be done. There's a full refit of electrics and electronics, the engine, all of the onboard systems, hydraulics, water makers, all of that has to be changed. We're going to be up against it to make the start of the next race, but we feel pretty confident that we'll be there. The next race is Plymouth to New York, 2nd of May is the start, and that's the Transat.
Five new production boats found themselves in the spotlight after winning their categories at the prestigious European Yacht of the Year Awards. An international panel of 11 judges selected the winners after whittling down a big entry list. And the winners are the Hansa 315 in the family category, the Grand Soleil 46 LC in the luxury cruiser division, and the Solaris 50, which took the trophy in the performance cruiser category. In the multi-hull division, the potent Dragonfly 25 got the nod. And the highly innovative foiling Quant took the Special Yacht Award. Ian Williams took a 6th World Match Racing title when he beat Taylor Canfield and his crew 3-0 at the Monsoon Cup in Malaysia. The British sailor is now the most successful match racing skipper in the history of the match racing tour. Its reputation as the world's toughest race has done nothing to dissuade 27 skippers from entering the Vendée Globe. The 8th edition of this non-stop solo circumnavigation promises to be a record breaker. In addition to the long list of offshore rock stars, there are those who will be tackling the grueling race for the first time. The race starts in November from Les Sables d'Olonne in Brittany. Even more impressive is the entry list for the rerun of the famous Golden Globe race of 1968. Back then, Robin Knox Johnston completed the trip in 312 days aboard his ketch, Saily, and sailed into the record books. He won the race and became the first person to sail non-stop around the world alone. The new race will start in 2018 to mark the 50th anniversary of the original event. 30 skippers are expected to start and will sail production boats between 32 and 36 feet long without modern navigation aids. British America's Cup team Land Rover BAR has announced its new Sailing Academy. Set up to find and support talented young British sailors, the Academy is looking to create a pathway into the America's Cup. The team has already entered the Extreme Sailing Series, where it plans to field a squad of 12 sailors. Damien Seguin is a Paralympic sailor. He's already a 3-time world champion in the 2.4-metre class and has 2 Paralympic medals to his name. But Damien's ambitions go way further.
My name is Damien Seguin. I come from France and I sail on 2.4. My disability is I have only one hand, so I can count 1, 2, 3, 5 and it's okay. I was born like that, and yes, when I was young, yes, I was like the children. I was playing with each other, bicycling, swimming, and when I start sailing, I start on Optimist, after on Laser, B16. I discovered 2.4 in 2000. I think my first word was, wow, it's a fantastic boat. Not because of my disability, but because it was a fantastic boat. And that's why I challenged to do the Paralympic. And I won the gold medal in 2004 in Athens and silver in Beijing. And I had the chocolate medal, that's what we call it in France, in London, Aerospace. And yes, I qualified me for the next Paralympic Games. My plan is to win another medal. And now I'm also competing on big boats. I train a lot on big boats. I've done 8 transatlantic in race. I did the Rotterdam 2 times. And now my dream is on the Vendée Globe. My plan is to be the first skipper with a handicap who do the Vendée Globe maybe in 2020. So I work hard for that. I don't think I will adapt the Vendée Globe boat, the 60-feet boat, because when I was sailing on a class 40-feet boat, my boat was exactly the same as the other sailor, and that I want. I want to have the same boat and to say, yes, we are 2 sailors, and now the best will win. And I don't want the other sailors say, yes, Damien will because he have a handicap and he have adapted his boat and his boat is better than mine. No, it's the same boat and the best will win. It's a big challenge, and do it with an handicap will be a really beautiful message to all the children who have a handicap. So I continue now. I build a nice station in France for children who have disability. So I can help us. I have many boats, so I can use it with the children. And I didn't see myself as a real model, but everybody needs to have an example. And if I can be an example for children, he's the best. He's better than the gold medal for me.
Coming up after the break, the Spindrift team look forward, and how the world's greatest laser sailor looks back at the rest of the fleet. But first, what happened next to Jean-Pierre Dick and his crew aboard their Mod 70? Welcome back. Jean-Pierre Dick is one of the world's top offshore sailors, with a string of impressive results to his name. He's also used to putting on a show for the cameras, although what happened next was not in the plan. Dick and his crew, Roland Jourdain, were training for the double-handed Transat Jacques Vabre. As the boat became overpowered by a gust, Jourdain managed to scramble inside the boat, but Dick fell into the water. He was lucky to escape before the 70-foot trimaran came crashing down. Over and out. So close, but no trophy. Spindrift 2's scorching lap of the planet was the second fastest in sailing history. But despite travelling 29,000 miles at an average speed of more than 25 knots, the team was forced to accept that a new world record was out of reach. They would not be lifting the Jules Verne trophy. But in their home port of La Trinité-sur-Mer on the west coast of France, the team still returned to a hero's welcome. And no sooner had the crew stepped ashore than co-skippers Donna Bertarelli and Jan Guichard were already looking ahead to their next challenge.
Well, we're going to go back to try to win the Jules Verne, for sure. The North Atlantic, we couldn't try it last summer. We didn't have the weather, so we're going to go back for that one. And, and then there are others. But for the moment, it's those 2 for sure. We're going to try to get those 2.
Back in 2012, the same boat had set the record that Bertarelli's team was now chasing. Originally launched as Banque Populaire 5 and skippered by Loïc Perron, she demolished the previous record by almost 3 days. The Spindrift team knew that simply repeating the attempt with the boat in the same configuration would not be good enough. To improve the time, they had to improve the boat. Leo Lucette is the executive director of Spindrift Racing and explains why Spindrift 2 is so special and how the modifications were more than a fancy paint job.
We changed the sails, we changed the mast, we changed the rigging. The mast could tilt in different directions in order to be faster, and the team spent a long time working on the aerodynamic side to find a possibility to sail faster.
Loïc Perron was the skipper of Banque Populaire when she broke the record, he also had views on how to raise the bar.
This is the only boat able to beat himself, but maybe in a different way. Not the boat itself, so they've done a lot of stuff. They changed the mast, which is lighter and so on, but they are still going to sail with 14 people on board, which was our case 3 years ago. And I think it was already too comfortable for us. And if you want to think different, the way to think different on a boat is to be at least lighter.
However you dress it up, Spindrift 2 was already a beast. Yet boosting her performance had meant subtracting rather than adding. Despite being the most powerful trimaran in the world, when it comes to handling the beast, Donna Bertarelli believes that the black and gold Dream Machine is little different to the 35-foot cat class that she regularly races on the Swiss lakes.
There are no big differences. I mean, the boat, even though it's 40 meters long, it still reacts very much like a D35. Above 35 knots of speed, you have to move the helm just very gently and becomes like a Formula One. The nice thing though with this boat, because it has been built to go in the high seas and to go around the world, it doesn't dip down, and it's quite safe actually. And you feel the power of the boat and you feel the strength of the boat, but you also feel insecurity. Which on multi-hulls going at 40 knots speed, it's not something that usually you do find. But this boat is very maneuverable and it's quite comfortable actually, but it still remains very much alive.
As is the prospect of the record falling even further. Robert Scheidt has a trophy cabinet like a jeweller's shop window. Among the racks of glittering silverware, it's the 5 Olympic medals and 12 World Championships that he's most proud of. And who wouldn't be? It's these successes that has made the 42-year-old Brazilian one of the best-known names in sailing. But so too did one famous match race back in 1996, when he beat Ben Ainsley in the final race of the Olympic Games for the gold medal. 20 years has passed since Scheidt's first Olympic medal, and much has changed in his world.
It's a very special time for me in life because it's different, Now I'm married, I got 2 kids, so I got another side of life that is more important than getting medals. And it's really great that you can still compete at a high level at this age. And when you go back home, you have a family and you have other things to think about.
But some things haven't changed.
For sure, the fire still keeps burning, I really like to get one more medal.
He's won a medal at all of his 5 Olympics. To win a 6th would give him more medals than any other Olympic sailor. No pressure then. Competing at home in Brazil will raise the stakes even further.
I think the mental part is really important at the games, because the pressure is huge, everybody knows that they have only that week, that shot, and I think I'm in a pretty comfortable situation because I already medaled 5 times, I've done all that. The experiencing counts a lot, and I think I'm going to be able to be mentally strong in the games, which will be an important thing.
The Sailing World Cup in Miami was a clear reminder as to why he is so revered. During the week, Scheidt had started badly, yet ground his way back through the rankings to enter the medal race in 2nd place. Taking gold would require a match race in the final, familiar territory for the Brazilian.
And a clean start, nobody's over. Scheidt in the middle seems to get off the line cleanly.
From the start, Scheidt stalked his main opponent, Jean-Baptiste Bernard's, gaining the upper hand initially.
Well, look at that, we got a match race on. Something Robert Scheidt's familiar with.
Before losing it. Yet cool, calm, patient and experienced, he waited for the next opportunity. This was Scheidt at his most dangerous.
Robert Scheidt on the left, France led at the mark on the right, and it just looks to me like Scheidt Brazil has a little bit more wind and might have taken the lead.
He had, and he wasn't going to let go now. And kept Bernard's behind to take gold. So how much had experience counted?
the fact that you've been in these situations before, you know, you lost, you won, and you know, you keep your cool when the things get tight. I think it makes a little bit of a difference. But having said that, the other guys are also getting better and better, and the game is getting very tough. You see, in the laser, each regatta there's a different winner, and it's great for the class, and it's going to be very interesting at the Olympics also.
Single-handed and single-minded, the laser fleet continues to create some of the sharpest sailors and the toughest competition. And some, like Scheidt, have been hooked for a lifetime.
Ask me for my favorite color. I was waiting for the question.
What's your favorite color?
My favorite color is yellow. I first started sailing on a very small lake close to my parents' house at the age of 6. One of the greatest achievements is the bronze medal in the London Olympics. When I was younger, I really used to look up to Siren Sundby. It was a Norwegian sailor when I was sailing still in the Europe dinghy, and I remember really looking up to her. I always wear the same socks when I'm racing. Would you like to see them? Yeah. They are really cool. But you know, once you wear these socks and you have a good result, then you need to keep on wearing these socks. So, you know, when I go to the gym after sailing, I put on different socks. So really only limiting the hours of the socks really at the sailing venue. And in 2006 I started to get some good results in the laser. I wouldn't say that I was a professional at that time, but since then we've built a bigger team. We have such a good infrastructure now. So I think from 2006 on it's been getting more and more professional, but especially the last years. Yeah. I love to cook, so maybe, I don't know, like a breakfast restaurant or like a brunch restaurant, or I don't have one signature dish, but one of my favorites is spaghetti with clams. Rio Olympics and taking home the gold medal.
Next month, big cats on foils, little cats on fire, and 600 miles in t-shirts and shorts.